The Texas class desk job has 4 epaulets. Hans, the towel guy, is the gossip king everybody knows. And Hans said that the Philosian in Tactical's girlfriend's Vedic heard that Starfleet Command is shuttering the Cali class and replacing it with drones. I don't even know if I got that right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 7th Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 10, entitled The Stars at Night. This is written by Mr. Mike McMahon, maybe you've heard of him, and directed by Jason Cirroc. How are you today, Cirroc? We did it.
The stars come out at night. I'm good. I am very good.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, this is a historic episode. It's the first episode in which we mentioned Hans twice already. We've never even mentioned him once because I don't think he ever had a name, did he? I think this was the first time they actually said, Hans, the towel guy. He's the gossip king.
Oh yeah.
The guy that always walks by, he'll like say one or two things, but that's the towel guy.
That's the guy, the towel guy.
Mm.
It's funny because they called him the gossip king. Is he really? It's running around here screaming gossip, huh? I love this episode again, man. Yeah, I don't remember him saying much. No, this episode, it's a good episode. And I kind of like them continuing some of the storylines from the last episode where you see Mariner going off and doing their own thing. You see Freeman. They actually caught up on a lot of things. It reminded me in some ways of, the serialized format that Deep Space Nine is known for. There's some aspects of this episode that made me think, oh, I'm familiar with this backstory. It wasn't a complete one-off. It's more like, I think they had the call back from Rutherford's experience when he had the clone, when he had his evil twin.
Yeah.
So they called back a little bit from that. They called back from Bueno Amigo. Obviously, is getting more work in this end of this season, and it's just a lot of good things in this. And
that bridge full of all like the different characters, right? Where it was like Shaxs with the lipstick and Freeman with the goatee and Boimler as the bug and all that kind of stuff.
Yes,
that was really cool.
Yes.
So there were a lot of First of all, they did mention Data. That's a NAM for Data. They did mention Picard because Captain Picard is a big archaeologist. He loves that's his thing is archaeology. Like how Sisko loves baseball, Janeway loves coffee.
Right.
She likes holodeck romances or whatever. Well, Picard loves archaeology. That's his thing, man. He wants to go be Indiana Jones somewhere. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really interesting. It's really endearing.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I did. Well, you mean Admiral Picard, I guess, at this point, because they referred to him as Admiral Picard.
True.
But they also said that he had a huge endowment. And is that an episode title, or is that just something that people know about?
That's just something proven when he goes to Risa.
Okay.
Because he's buying everybody drinks. That's all.
Yeah. No, that's funny that and it's funny because I thought there would be something nefarious behind.
Totally.
Yeah, so they completely set me up too, because I was like, oh, there's got to be something here. She's hiding something. This, but it actually turned out to be, something that you wouldn't really necessarily be worried about being discovered.
Mm-hmm. Can we just say that it was cool to get all the California city shout outs in this episode? Now, I, for one, felt very pleased because I recognized every single city that was named and I knew exactly where they were. And some of them were a little bit more obscure, like Vallejo, which is in the North Bay of the Bay Area, or Carlsbad, which is kind of between here and San Diego. Nice little town. Mount Shasta, Redding, Eureka. Those are all way up north. But so they mentioned Oakland, Alhambra, San Diego, San Clemente, Sherman Oaks, right in my hood, Vacaville, Burbank, Fresno, Santa Monica, San Jose, Sacramento, Culver City, Anaheim, Riverside, Vallejo, West Covina. I think West Covina is where our buddy Shar Schmidt lives, if I remember correctly. Pacific Palisades, which is pretty close to where you are, Cirroc.
Yeah.
And I believe Britney Spears lived there. Reading, Eureka, Mount Shasta, Merced, Carlsbad, Inglewood.
Always up to no good. I would have liked to see Ice Cube guest star for the Inglewood.
Yes. Well, we did get, I believe, was it of the Merced when they said, like, it showed the Merced and he's like, hey, the Merced is always happy to help or something. Was that Jet? Do you remember Jet? He was like in the second season? I'd have to go back and look at Jet, but maybe it was just some new guy.
No, I thought it was a new guy. But yeah, no, I did. My only note for that was when they started going through the names like you did, all I could think of was Tupac's song, California.
Yeah.
Knows how to party.
Because it does. No, you're right. I'm looking at the art on Jet, and he looks a little bit different. Jet Manhaver is his name. Manhaver. He went from ensign to lieutenant, and that's why I thought it might be him. I was like, maybe he just went up the ranks like super fast because he went from ensign to lieutenant. Maybe they're like, okay, next year he's a captain. Whatever. All you guys are slow. He's the quickie. And then there was the Tellarite captain, who was standing on the captain's chair rather than sitting in it for some reason.
Yeah, I noticed that. I thought that was funny. I was like, that's an interesting way to hit. It's like, what the hell is that? That was funny.
Good balance.
Yeah, good balance. There were moments in here that I really liked. I loved when Tindy told Rutherford, to stop being impressed with the things that's about to steal our jobs.
Totally. Absolutely.
I was laughing my ass off with that one because I thought that's a perfect, because sometimes you just get lost. Like, oh, this is really cool. Like, yeah, it is really cool, and it's going to replace us, dumbass. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I likened it to when I'm watching my favorite sports team, and they lose a game. And then the press conference, all they're doing is complimenting the other team. And I'm like, Jesus, if you love them so much, why don't you go join them then? Jesus, like, enough already.
Enough. That's enough. They played really well. Their defense was great. He's like, all right, we got it. We saw the game.
Yeah, we got it. You guys sucked. Get better.
Yeah, exactly.
Do better.
Get better. The other thing I thought was really good in this was Boimler doing his impersonation. I rewound that a couple times because I enjoyed. First of all, I thought his impersonations were good, right? So I actually had to rewind to see, is Shaxs doing himself or is that actually Boimler doing Shaxs? Because that's how good it was.
I checked the same, but luckily we had Shaxs come right in after so we could kind of compare and contrast. Like, is that Fred actually doing the impression, or is just Jack Quaid doing a really solid impression that's really close? But obviously it's got to be the latter.
Yeah, and it was fantastic. It was really good. Like he hit everything right on point. And my favorite line was he mentioned Barcelona.
Yeah.
When he said
yes. Love it.
When he said Barcelona, I just busted out laughing. I rewound that scene at least 3 times because that little scene was just so classic to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people that go to Barcelona love to say Barcelona because that's how the locals call it. Yeah, we know, but we're not in Barcelona right now. I don't say, hey, so I went out to Paris last week and I had a great time, and then we flew out to France, and no, I just say France. I went to Paris.
Yeah, thank you. You're in America now. You can say it the way you want, any way you want. No, there was just so many little jokes in this. That sounds like a cantaloupe. We need a cantaloupe.
Solid.
Another solid.
Yep.
Like just who was that said that? That was Dr. Miglimo. Yeah. Miglimo said that. And I just like, this is such a corny Miglimo thing to say.
So we also had like a ton of little Easter eggs, and I'm sure people will be showing us the rest, but there are a few I caught. One was when Lieutenant Billups said, "Those isolinear chips better be a blur." Okay, so I think this was a nod to a Next Generation episode, like one of the very first ones where Data, I think it might be the second one in the Naked Now. Haven't seen Next Generation in a long, long time. And he's putting all the isolinear chips in the right because the chief engineer had gotten them all over the place, and he's plugging them back in super quick because he's an android. So like, doo-doo-doo-doo, and so it kind of looks like a blur. So I'm like, when he said those isolinear chips better be a blur, it reminded me of that.
Okay.
Everybody in the comments, let me know if that's correct or if I'm thinking of a different episode or maybe multiple episodes. He's done that before where he types stuff and they put in like fast forward or whatever in the editing room. But another one was, okay, do you remember they said on whatever it was, Augmenic 9 or something, one of the planets when they were doing that mission race, they said one of those planets that only phase into our dimension for a few hours a year. I was like, Meridian. Remember the episode Meridian?
Oh, yeah. I did think of that.
Falls in love with that guy in 2 scenes, and then like she's gonna like leave with him or something. That was the storyline in Meridian. That's what they were referencing. Oh, so cool.
Yes. And I knew when I was watching it that it reminded me of something. I was like, what is this that I'm thinking of? That's exactly right. That's Meridian. They found a way to make Meridian good again.
Man,
are good for the first time because I didn't really like those.
You mark my words. Meridian's going to have a comeback for a few hours every year. It's going to come back, and people are going to start loving it because, with Voyager's Threshold, everybody hated it at first, but now everybody loves it because it's just after a while you just go, okay, that's what it is. And I love it. And Meridian is going to be the greatest episode of all time.
One day. I like the fact that Rutherford's AI code, he was like, it's the same one that built Badgy. I'm like, oh, we got another. This was part crazy robot. So one thing that Lower Decks really loves is those crazy robots, right? They always they have that whole room full of retired mad robots. And I can only imagine that this the Alito would be, if it could, it would be in that retired in that same room somewhere.
Their little mainframe or something. Speaking of which, did you know that for the first time, probably in the history of Star Trek, according to my brain that doesn't remember stuff, we had an after credits scene. I don't know if you saw that. I would assume most people missed it because it's never been done before. So it was after the credits, and it was only like 10 seconds. It was like in the wreckage of the Alito, like Badgy kind of wakes up or shows up. So he goes along with that. So basically what that means is season 4 is going to be evil Peanut Hamper with evil Agamus with evil Badgy, either all as enemies or together, like as like this big AI robot super team, like the Legion of Doom.
And what's crazy is that, I think you mentioned before about stories and other stories. And you said there was, a whole story inside the wall of this other show. But you could essentially have the evil fleet with its own ship, right? Badgy's the captain.
Totally.
Just the whole evil robotic, like,
Peanut Hamper's got to be the counselor then, the ship's counselor. That would be hilarious.
That would be hilarious, right? To see this like evil robot piloting this starship. And even the ship itself would be arguing with them. it would be hilarious to watch. So we may get a little bit of a taste of that. I like that idea.
Mm-hmm. A lot of good things. Oh, did you notice the new ship that came in? It was a different ship, not Texas or California class. It was called the USS Van Sitters.
Yeah, I saw that. they gave our buddy John Van Sitters a shout out. I
Never thought I'd
cool.
see that. Yeah. So then they're going to have like the USS Berman and the USS McMahon, the USS Brooks. But they did have actually, what was it? It was at the very beginning, it said they're in for repairs at the Douglas station. My first thought was Frederick Douglass. Or maybe Buster Douglas, but I'd rather believe Frederick Douglass.
Yeah, I would venture to say more of Frederick than Buster. No, when I saw the Van Sitters reference, and I thought that was kind of cool. For those of you out there that don't know, he's heavily involved in the Star Trek franchise behind the scenes, working with CBS. So it's good to see that his impact in Star Trek is being recognized, and that they're paying homage to his contributions. I thought Shaxs also had a good storyline in this.
Absolutely. I was just gonna mention that too. How beautiful was it when she said, "Okay, Shaxs, you can eject the war," and he was walking. Everybody was cheering for him. He had tears in his eyes.
Yeah. And what I like about it is, I like the fact that he's not just the brute character, that he's actually has sensitivity. And that's one of the things I think is important to kind of put some, he's sensitive. He was sensitive about Boimler making fun of him. He's like, "Is that how I sound?"
Is that how I sound to you?
Yeah. But I thought it was great that they gave him that sensitivity, and they gave him this moment, because when we had him interact with Kira, it kind of, for me, it had led in more credence and credibility to his Bajoran roots, and so it kind of validated it, in my opinion. So now I see him more as a Bajoran, for one. And then I also see him more as a sensitive person, based off of a few of the incidents. When he died and came back, he was super sensitive about asking about it. Remember, that was kind of a hint into it. But I thought when he came in, he said, "You're part of the bear pack. Come here, baby bear."
Oh, yes.
I kind of warmed up on that moment. I was like, I like Shaxs, man. He's a good dude.
Good dude. By the way, you have a really cool background. This is new stuff to me. I see the Defiant up there. That's like the full layout of the Defiant. There's Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
I can't tell what the other thing is back there, but it's definitely Deep Space Nine. Oh, it's the Promenade.
No, this one is the Ops. So this is
Ops.
the main Ops. Yeah.
Wow. You got to get some close-ups of that someday.
Sisko's quarters is right here.
Wow, that's amazing. But I was thinking, I don't want to get off track here, but like I was just, when you were talking about Shaxs, I was totally picturing you, because I saw your eyes light up a little bit when we were talking about archaeology, and I was thinking, man, I want to see Cirroc being like the next Indiana Jones kind of character, like going around and like finding artifacts and treasure hunting and all that, because I know that's up your alley. That would be so much fun.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I enjoyed about Mariner's kind of storyline as well in this episode. That's, people ask me sometimes, where do you see Jake? What would Jake be doing? And I would see Jake either, continuing his journalism, but I also see him kind of living a lifestyle similar to what you see Mariner and her partner doing on that ship, kind of like independent, doing your own thing, but also staying connected to what's happening in Starfleet.
With Picard as your benefactor, I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Hey,
but wouldn't you have liked to see a little bit more of that storyline? Mariner came back, And that's cool. It gives us the happy ending, but I would not have minded Mariner being away from the ship for 3, 4, 5, 6 episodes even. And we see more of their hijinks, these two. You know, maybe they meet a third person. There's like a robot or a droid or a pet or something. And they do all and just like, why not follow their storyline separately for a few episodes here and there? I think that would have been a lot of fun. I mean, I understand why they brought it all back together right away to wrap it up, but would have been fun.
I do think it would have been fun, and I actually thought the same thing. I thought, wow, why don't they just keep this separate and give us more of this? Because I like they kind of get along, but they kind of don't, and it's a little bit of that, and the chemistry was good.
And it gives us that cool treasure hunting storyline that we love.
I like the treasure hunting storyline, the Indiana Jones kind of looking for the Holy Grail type of thing, and I think that's a good storyline. And the other thing I liked about this episode was there was a level of teamwork that I don't remember them having so much of. They were all kind of on the same page trying to work together, figuring out the solution. It wasn't, there was a moment when Freeman said, I need ideas, and that's when Shaxs kind of, said, let's eject the warp core.
Mm-hmm. But and we got to see all hands on deck too. It wasn't just the lower decks. We also got to see the upper deckers. We got to see Billups. We got to see Miglimo. There was everybody was there. Kind of like the big season finale hurrah with everybody.
And that's what I liked about it too. It was just like everybody was together on like a working together type of thing. Even when Mariner came back, I could have seen her separate for longer, but there were just moments that I thought were really good. I felt the camaraderie between everybody. And there was also, I don't know, the Rutherford, for example, had the whole season worth of storyline kind of unfolding in front of us, right? Where this is his past, and this is, we saw him kind of go through that whole programming thing. And I think we thought it was Section 31 at some point. We were discussing whether Rutherford was secretly, enlisted in Section 31 and they erased his memory or something to that effect. But now we see that it was this whole other storyline. So they wrapped up a lot of stories into this episode. Tindy gets a new friend with the Vulcan girl that comes at the end. We don't know what she's going to...
Tendy's new friendy, right? Talin. We've been waiting for her. She was introduced in like maybe the second to last episode of season 2. It was called Three Ships Wedge Dudge, and she was on the Vulcan ship, and she was kind of like her own little rebel from the Vulcan ship. So we've been waiting for Talin to show up, and I wonder if this means we're now going to get a permanent 5th member of the Lower Decks team. That'd be great.
I think we are. I think like the feeling that I got when she came on screen was, okay, this is a new cast member, right?
Yeah.
They're ending this season on a new cast member of Vulcan. So, she came out and said, I need somewhere private, and she just went into her full, like, I'm a Vulcan and I'm doing my own thing type of mentality. So I think she's going to be an interesting character as well.
Mm-hmm. Real quick too, we're going to take a break in a second here, but also I wanted to point out, have you seen, there's this one alien guy, well, we'll talk about on the other side, but there's one alien guy that I keep getting the same impression of when I see him. There was also an Orion, or seemingly an Orion, but he had like weird brows that was on during the Admiral discussion when Freeman was getting dressed down. I don't know if that was an Orion. There was a green guy. So everybody in the comments, let us know, was that an Orion? There was a green guy when Freeman was getting questioned, and there aren't a lot of green people. So is that an Orion, or was that some other alien that we don't know? Anyway,
quick question though for you though is those things are called epaulets?
Epaulets. It's got to be a French word because the word for shoulder in French is épaule. And epaulette, anything that's E-T-T-E, ending in that, is generally a French word. And so epaulette means just something that comes off your shoulders, those things that come off. And that's why it's funny. They're like, well, there's 4 epaulettes. It's like, what are you going to do with 4? How does that even fit? Where do the other 2 go in the back or in the front? On your hips? It's just another funny thing where you're like, what the is that? It's kind of like if somebody says, oh, and the pants in the uniform come with 4 legs or 4 sleeves on the shirt. You're like, what?
There's 4 zippers. You're like, I only need
That's
one
not
zipper.
luxury. That's confusing. Is that for like 2 people to fit into? Anyway.
Also, really quick before it goes, I wanted to say another one of my favorite lines was Ta'ana. Is that her name? Ta'ana, the little cat. She says, "Get the fuck out of my sick bay." I just love the way she yells at people and gets her little.
She was holding one of those little horse whips thing when she ran in, which makes you wonder. Where did she just come from? I bet Shaxs knows. All right.
Yeah. So,
speaking of which, we'd like to give a very special thanks to Homer Frizzell, Dr. Marie Segal, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackmon-Tom, Carmen, a.k.a. Skillet, Timothy Baum, a.k.a. Grandpa One, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arucan, Titus Mohler, Darlena Marie, John Mann, Dr. Mohamed Noor, Tierney C. Dieckmann, Anna Post, Rex A. Wood, Anil O. Palat, Erica Strom, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, DQ, Neil Akasaka, Justine Norton Kurtzen, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, Radek Orszewski out in, Southwest Poland, Henry Unger, live from Tokyo, and of course, Dr. Susan V. Gruner. Everybody, we've got a second segment. It's a bonus segment today. We're going to have a free-for-all. We're going to close out season 3 of Lower Decks with our crew. Won't you please stick around? We'll see you on the other side. Always remember the 7th rule.
Yeah.
That's a good choice.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the 7th rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello.
It is time for our free-for-all, our international, worldwide free-for-all. We've got Eve England out in Wales. Guess where she is? Goldu Scott Jensen is here. Carrie Schwent is also here, showing some skeletal things on her shirt and background. Matt Boardman hanging out, being cool. Homer Freezy looks like he's got a Deep Space Nine shirt on. And Malissa Longo showing off her Lower Decks background.
Lower Decks.
Actually, Eve has a really cool design of the Abyssinian kiosk shirt. It's the Halloween version. It looks like candy corn.
Yeah.
So cool. And the candy corn mug. And in the background, she's got the skeleton.
Mr. Bony One.
Kenobi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kenobi.
He's the doctor of the Enterprise.
Representing the Cerritos.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So dude, there were so many Easter eggs in this, you guys. It was crazy. Did you guys catch the non-appearance mentions?
Picard.
Mm-hmm. Who else?
Data.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, but when was Data mentioned, though? How so?
Yeah. I want to see Commander Data level work here, people.
Yeah.
Yes, it was Billups. And then he said, I want to see those isolinear chips better be a blur, which made me think, right?
Yeah.
Was that the Naked Now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, well, Eve England out in Wales, how are you? Did you love this episode? And what did you catch?
Oh, one of the little things I really liked was there was a bit of an Enterprise reference with a Xindi, so that was something that jumped out at me.
I didn't catch that. What was that?
Yeah, I can't remember where it was now, but I just remember them saying something about the Xindi somewhere. I it was one of those very quick passing comments. To be honest, I just really liked the overall feel of this one. It was just so epic, and the music was just fantastic all the way through, and you just had this sort of level of tension throughout. When I was just finished watching it, I came away thinking, this really, to me, is just the best thing I think that Star Trek has just done for a long, long time. It's just really seems to, it's just shaken up everything that, Star Trek has traditionally been. And I was thinking, it just reminds me of what the sort of Clone Wars did for Star Wars. And I'm just really hoping now that we have this sort of, they were brave enough to do it, and everybody seems to love it. And now it just shows, they've got this animation format that can equally show an amazing space battle that we had in this episode, and has all the drama, all the fun, and just shows the versatility of the medium, but also just in terms of the content and the style. So we don't have to just have, the traditional TNG in the original series and everything else. And I just came away thinking that was just so good that I'm just really looking forward to what else they might now, or that might give them the confidence and the sort of budgets to just go away and do what Star Wars now has in terms of the, breadth of content that we have. So I just came away just thinking it was just amazing. And I'm looking forward to a Section 31 reference in season 4, because they seem to have set that up. So I was really, really excited about that from, I think it was the last couple of episodes. But in terms of some specifics, there were some really great quotes. I loved the quote when they were talking about Badgy, and they were sort of realised that Rutherford's implant was, rogue, and it was all about, starships can't have daddy issues, and that was just hilarious. That was a laugh out moment for me. Yes. And I just loved then all of the, and I think it was the archaeologist, and they were like, "That's a bit fucking rude." And then I was saying something like, it's just the way she said it, and I know they did bleep it out, I think. And then, how she just said, "Yeah, we kicked some Impossible's ass," and she's just really funny. And I just thought her and Mariner's relationship was just really good. So there's just so much stuff in here. I need to watch it again. It was just really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you have all been happier with more of Mariner and her buddies' hijinks for more episodes? Cirroc and I were talking about that a bit.
Yeah.
Or were you happy with Mariner coming back on the ship and moving on?
I would have liked to have seen more. I loved that Indiana Jones piece. That was brilliant.
Yeah, I think they should have taken longer time, and especially with the funder of the whole enterprise, I think that could have been drawn out an episode or two, rather than just it coming out there. Oh, I'll tell you, no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like their relationship. I think it works well. I could have used more of it, and more adventures. Like, what's next? Let's. Because I kind of like the idea of the artifact gathering, and I think they could have taken that really far and say, "Hey, we need the sword of Kalis from such and such, whatever it is," and that in itself would be like adventure after adventure.
That could be a season, yeah.
They'll float in space.
Yeah, that would have been good. And then we know it's Picard who's backing it, but if there were a conflict between the mission itself, the artifact mission, and some Starfleet values, that could have been interesting.
Mm-hmm. All right. Carrie Schwent is here. She's been suspiciously quiet, which means she's got a lot to say now. How are you? What did you think of this episode?
So much fun, and it just proves that even in the future, gossip will always travel at warp speed. You can try to contain it, but by the time you say it, it's already halfway through the ship by then. And my haiku went through several different versions, but I think I like what I finally settled on. Shaxs fulfills a dream. Texas class AI goes nuts. Beckett brings help. And like you said, so many good quotes. So the commander level data work, I love that one. and in sick bay, that's cantaloupe talk. I want you to be a cantaloupe.
Yeah.
And the doc with the writing crop, like, get the hell out of my sick bay. I loved her with that writing crop.
Yes, I loved it too.
Where did she come from holding that thing?
I don't know. They were in sick bay talking, so she was trying to coordinate things in there, and Anna and the bird doctor are just getting in her way.
Yeah, they're having a moment.
Go talk somewhere else.
She's like, get the fuck out of my sick bay. I laughed when she said that. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, and then the Ransom giving the Riker's chair mounting lesson, like the proper way to mount a chair, just the way Riker does. They actually had a chair mounting contest one year on one of the early Star Trek cruises. I didn't have a chance to go, but it sounded like it was a lot of fun. And Jonathan Frakes was there judging said contest. He decided who the winner was. Yeah, absolutely hysterical. And just that whole section of them enthusiastically prepping for the test, and poor Boimler and trying to get Shaxs to stop every time they talk to stop crying. Yep, there's the writing crop.
Yeah.
Good God.
And everybody standing in the hallway giving him the clap and the cheers when he finally gets to eject the worker like he's always wanted to.
So good.
Probably
so good.
So sweet.
Is that a reference to anything that's been done on Star Trek before?
Well, ejecting the warp core, they talk about that a lot, and they've done it a couple times in previous episodes, right, guys?
Yeah, Voyager
got it in Voyager.
Yeah, Voyager did it once, I think.
Then we didn't actually see the sequence in Insurrection, but they did eject the warp core in Insurrection.
Good knowledge.
Yeah.
You got 2 eyebrows up from Homer on that one, so that is good knowledge.
Yeah, that was good knowledge, especially knowing that they didn't show it. Nice work.
And the Beckett stuff definitely could have used its own episode just all by itself.
The what stuff?
The Beckett, them going all Tomb Raider looking for artifacts. That could have easily been an entire episode all by itself.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, I think we're not going to be the only ones that's going to clamor for more Mariner the Tomb Raider, but who knows if we'll get it. Do you guys remember what her friend's name is? The British girl? Ketra?
Petra, yeah.
Petra.
Oh, Petra. Okay.
Petra, like a rock. She's
like Petra.
Like her last name is Selwhite.
With a P.
With a P, though. Yeah,
with
it's like
P.
it's that
rock. Yeah.
It's that rock formation in the chiseled out church in the rock side, right?
Syria, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, where Indiana Jones.
Yeah, Jordan.
Yeah,
Last Crusade
Jordan
started.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's a little reference right there.
Good knowledge, everybody. Goldu Scott Jensen, your thoughts on this episode?
Man, I loved it. I loved it more than I was anticipating to love it. I laughed a lot, which was pretty concerning to all the other people in Burger King, I believe. It was great, man. I'm going to go back once again to I'm happy anytime Shaxs gets a bunch of spotlight on him. I love that character. I love that Boimler screwed up and was, and then concerned, not because he hurt Shaxs' feelings, concerned because Shaxs didn't like him anymore. It wasn't like, I got to fix this because I hurt this guy. It was, I got to fix it so I could be back in the good spotlight again. And my favorite line, once again, came from him when he whispered, "By the prophets," another time. But he just said,
but how did he say it? Yeah. Wait, but what about...
his voice I'm yelling, so.
Scott, can you do the line where he said to Boimler, is that what I sound like to you?
He was crying too. That makes it even harder. I don't know if I have all that range anymore, man. What was up? You think all Bajorans are the same?
Pretty dang
very
good.
nice.
By the prey, he gets to launch the warp core just in time, which I don't know how that would work in reality. That when your sensors are looking for other ships, you're looking for warp signatures. and you've literally got a gigantic only warp signature flying at you, and you still crash into it. I don't know how that works, but it's cinematic and it's great. And I did love every minute of this. I want to watch it again. I love that everybody had an important part in it. All 4 of the lower deckers had something very important to contribute. By the end of the episode, everybody meant something. Everybody carried the story along. And everybody, I can't think anybody didn't have an awesome moment in the whole thing. I mean, even all the people from all the other California class ships, which, man, did I cheer when that happened too.
Oh
I wasn't ready to be as excited. I was like, sir, it's all of them. And then they just all over the place. It was absolutely excellent. It was one of those that just embodies the adventure of Star Trek to it. And it was this I feel like this whole season, honestly, is pulling me towards Lower Decks, jumping up in my favorite Trek levels.
Ooh.
DS9 doesn't need to sweat yet, but if you're in TNG, you better look out for it.
So TNG does need to sweat.
Sweat because here comes Shaxs.
Everybody noticed that the guy named Guldu Scott is the Devils' #1 fan, according to his sweater. New Jersey hockey team.
Because you beat the Red Wings, and that's all I need.
Oh, boo.
Smash the Red Wings. Smash them.
Well, look, we're a shadow of the team we used to be.
Well, so's the Devils, but I mean.
Now, everybody, when Scott says smash, you say the like button. All right. What else you got for us, Scott? Anything else?
I think that's about it, man. I'm just going to keep going about how great Shaxs is. So, and Tiana, God, the Tiana and Miggly Mo fighting each other, the cat and the bird, and then the 2 wings of medical, a medical doctor fighting a psychiatrist. It's just, it's just back and forth.
Doesn't get old.
So great. We could have a spinoff with them. There you go. Maybe Starfleet Medical.
The Odd Couple.
Homer Frizzell, your thoughts? Do you want to see a spinoff between the cat doctor and the bird doctor?
No, not really. I think they can explore it more. The same with the archaeology. I think that it can be like the TNG episode Gambit or something, and there's a mission that Mariner needs to go on, and so that could be the main focus of it. So I think we'll see it again. I love this episode. It wrapped up virtually everything, so it makes me think that originally Lower Decks was just going to go 3 seasons. There are some loose ends that were introduced earlier, with Section 31, for example, but we got all the California class ships, or I think all of them together, and we got a whole bunch of names, so that's helpful with geography as well if you're working on your California cities.
Those of us California residents recognized every one of those cities, by the way.
That's so great.
I have to go back and maybe put on the closed captioning so I can catch all of them, because they were rattling them off. It was almost like that song "I've Been Everywhere," where it's just rattling off all the towns. Like, whoa. And we got the mystery solved, at least for now, as it relates to Rutherford and his implant. So I think they wrapped up a lot of what they started out with, because that was planted early on. It's one of those episodes too that this even you got the names of all of those towns or cities, but it's one that bears watching 2, 3, 4 times. It's one that I have to go back through and try to catch the references, not just the vocal, like the names, but like this image here. I want to take a look and see what might be buried in there that you wouldn't ordinarily see as Mariner is just swinging across that void. So it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Promises
nice
fulfilled.
T-shirt.
Thank you. Yes. This is episode 6 from this season.
Oh,
nice.
Cool.
The Cerritos is right there.
Oh.
Wait a minute. That's a Lower Decks Deep Space Nine?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I got to
So
find one
cool.
of those. I need one of those shirts, man.
I'll send you the link.
Send me the link. Yes, please. That's a fresh.
Yeah. They're all my favorites, but this one is one of my favorites.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting fun fact, and I'd say fact loosely
It
because I'm
just
not
needs
100%
4
sure.
epaulets, right?
Yeah, 4
Yeah,
epaulets.
I need 4 epaulets.
But out of all of the California class ships that they mentioned, we were talking about them earlier: Oakland, Alhambra, San Diego, San Clemente, Sherman Oaks, Vacaville, Burbank, Fresno, Santa Monica, San Jose, Sacramento, Culver City, Anaheim, Riverside, Vallejo, West Covina, Pacific Palisades, Redding, Eureka, Mount Shasta, Merced, Carlsbad, Inglewood. One of those is not actually a city, maybe 2. One is Sherman Oaks. That's a district in LA. It's right in my hood. That's just a district. Mount Shasta, I believe there is a city around the mountain as well. Otherwise, it would be 2. But anyway. So there's that, Homer.
That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
So put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah. I certainly wasn't going to go into Wikipedia to see which ones were technically cities. So that's good information.
I only know because that's where I live.
Yeah.
Did you guys picture the writer's room when they were coming up with all these names? Were they just like, where do you live? And then, or where have you lived? They're just naming them all.
They also gave us
captain,
two extra Texas ships.
Yeah.
So we had the Alito, but they gave us Dallas and Corpus Christi this time. So
Yeah.
that was another little shout out to cities.
And we got the Van Sitters.
Yeah.
Right. We touched on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was a good one as well. Chris Farley would have loved that one. That's a stretch on that one because he would always talk about a van down by the river. Anyway, Matt Boardman, can you save us here? What? It's better than making a Harvey Danger joke who sang the song Flagpole Sitta.
Plenty of time for lower decks when you're living in a van down by the river.
All right, we'll stick with that one then. Did you love this episode, Matt?
Oh, I loved it. I don't typically stay up and watch it the night before because I have to get up early Thursday mornings and take a nice little 3-hour round trip drive to East LA. But I did for this one because I was just excited for it. So, and it didn't disappoint. I mean, there was just so many cool things stuff that people have already talked about, but I loved getting to see, the animated form of Starfleet Command. And then we went into the boardroom from Star Trek VI with all the cool little lamps. I had my suspicions about Buen Amigo and they turned out to be true. And so, he's just another in the long line of bad admirals. Should have called him, instead of Buen Amigo, he was Mal Amigo.
Yep.
Right.
Excellent.
Right.
Or Amigo No Bueno.
Yes.
Amigo No Bueno.
No bueno. But I was like, I didn't think they would kill him off like that. But when they when the they just opened up and went through, I was like, oh shoot, they did.
Yeah. He let annihilate it with a direct energy weapon, it's like an overkill.
I was like, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that they did it, but at the same time, I was like, oh, that's brutal. So,
is that the first character we've seen die on the show like that?
I was thinking about that actually. Yeah, and you might be right.
Yeah, Shaxs died.
Shaxs is pretty rough. That was
came back. Yeah.
Yeah, man, they torched him. That was
they torched him. I saw, I did too though. Like a point blank.
All those people in the hallway too, just like flashing.
Oh yeah, people in the hallway totally getting exactly. Bodies flying everywhere. So great.
Let the bodies hit the floor.
Exactly. I love me some good carnage. But no, it was just great. I cracked up at all the Cali classes showing up and then naming them off. And I'm like, oh, man, yep. I've been living in California for the last 12 years and I know all these places. So Sherman Oaks cracked me up because I'm like, oh, man. I go through there almost every day. And just I loved at the end. What I loved at the end was that here it is. It's like this whole thing of like, okay, we're going to be shuttering the California class program in favor of these AI run ships. And then in the truest Trek fashion, they all come together and save the day at the end. And just, I don't know, there was just something about that camaraderie at the end of the episode, that they're all like, they're not the most glamorous ships or whatever, but they embody that true spirit of Starfleet, and just to have them all get together and like, I don't know. I left the episode with just a huge permagrin. And then, and then of course I love the post-credit scenes with Badgy there.
Yeah.
Back. So, but yeah, no, I loved it. It was a great episode. I mean, they never, their penultimate and their season finale episodes never disappoint. Like they always bring their A game for those 2 episodes for sure.
Yeah, there was a feel-good feeling about this episode. You walk away like, I don't know. There's like this. It just, you feel like, oh, they're getting it. There's a team. They are a team. They do love each other. They're gonna fight for each other. When it matters, they always come through. There was so many of those kinds of lessons in this, and yeah, when he gave him the baby bear, you're part of the bear pack, baby bear. I was like, I just want to be called Baby Bear by Shaxs one time. He gave me a big hug and called me the baby bear.
Definitely a chance of that.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice also, real quick, there's like this alien that's always walking through the halls of the Cerritos, and he totally looks like he should be on the Misfits, like the punk band, the Misfits. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about? There's like this
the eye makeup.
Yeah, he looks like this guy, right?
Is that a Nausicaan, or is that something else?
He was on one of the other California class ships, right? With the purple
he
hair.
looks like this kind of.
Yeah, we saw him in season 2 when the Mariner's friend from the Academy came in.
But do we know what kind of alien that's supposed to be? I don't know what that is. Anyway. Everybody tell us in the comments below, what is that alien? Or is that a new one? Is that a Misfits alien? Malissa Longo is petting her cat. It looks like it's tough to tell because there's green screen kind of stuff. But what'd you...
String.
Oh, it's string. What'd you think of this episode?
Right now. I loved it. And I remember thinking, I love this show when I finished watching it. I loved Boimler's impressions, and I loved it when he said Barcelona. It was so funny because he had the in there. And him mocking to Anna with the, you better get proper beep, 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 beep about my sick bay. Was really funny. When all of the California class ships started popping up, I got really emotional. I'm like, wow, this show has hooked me. It's getting me in the feels, not just the laughing feels, but the whole range of feels. So and it was fun when they were reading off of all of the names, and when the Carlsbad popped up and the Inwood popped up, and that was great. And
I love that.
I love that.
I love them lips on Shaxs.
Oh yes. Love that. And I loved all the hugging at the end with Shaxs, and then Mariner hugging her mom, and yeah, I love this episode, and I have to watch it again because I know I missed a lot. But great episode, great way to end the season, and it seems like Badgy is going to be the ultimate villain of the Lower Decks, which is kind of cool.
Maybe he'll join up with those other robots that are all locked away. Maybe they'll escape.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that. That'd be so funny.
Me too.
Oh, did everybody? The one reference I did get that I totally forgot about was the Brigadoon reference. So the reference to the Meridian episode. I thought that
Oh,
was,
yes.
I thought of that.
I was thinking of, Anne Marie's gonna love this. I was like,
What a
That was funny.
treat. What a treat. We're going to have a Meridian
Meridian.
watch party every week.
And the guy that was bitching about, he's like, this blows, it's taking too long.
Yeah.
I should beam down a replicator.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. But no, there's a lot of. Is it? Are they using the water treatment facility as the animated headquarters for?
Yep. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same that they did in
That's
DS9.
cool.
I was like, that's pretty cool. They're using that same water treatment facility that we visited for the Voyager dock, and I recognized the animated version of it. I was like, hey, that's pretty cool,
I
right
didn't
there.
even catch
That
that.
is
That's
pretty
hilarious.
cool.
Yeah.
That's like
It's
a mile
the
from my
water
house, and
treatment
I've been there a few
Yeah.
The
times.
water treatment plant, and then the building is based on the GM building from the World's Fair. From
Ah.
Fair. So that's
From
that's cool.
the Chicago World's Fair.
from New York. Let's see.
Okay.
Here. I can't remember what year it was now.
Okay.
So we've got a few minutes left, real quick. Oh, you're going to say something, Cirroc?
Oh yeah, just my last little things. I was going to say, I like the line when Captain Freeman says to Buen Amigo, "Come on, you're better than this." And he's like, "No, actually, I'm not."
That was funny.
I like that moment. I also had I wanted to mention two things. Number one, that Rutherford's voice is also, I believe, and maybe you guys can fact check me on this, is the voice of the Wendy's commercial. So if you listen to the radio and you
Interesting.
hear a Wendy's commercial, 1964 fair. Okay. If you hear the Wendy's commercial, because every time I'm driving and I'm listening to the radio, I'll hear a Wendy's commercial, and I'm like, where is this voice from? It's Rutherford's voice.
I've heard his voice a couple times. Yeah.
I think I've seen him,
but I don't remember what it
other
was.
Commercials too. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys ever hear a Wendy's commercial, it's Rutherford. I'm almost 100% sure. And then you, Ryan, were just telling me about Buen Amigo's voice, so I wanted you to share with us.
Yeah, people know him as the "Yo quiero Taco Bell" voice.
No,
but among a ton of other things, ton of other things. But that's one that makes people like get a flashback to the 90s.
Yeah, the Taco Bell dog.
Wow, that's cool.
That's him.
So when you hear these voices, it's like, oh, I know this voice. Where is it? Taco Bell.
Taco Bell.
So we had a couple other things sent in from Don Crandall. Let's see if we caught everything, or if he caught some things we did not. They mentioned the Philosians, right? When what's his name? When Boimler was talking about Hans had a Philosian, whatever. But if those of you don't remember, some of you don't remember what Philosians are. They're these guys from the animated series. He sends us a picture of them. Remember these guys?
Oh.
Cthulhu looking stuff.
Those guys are ugly.
That's weird.
That's weird. Cirroc says. Also, he says, Ta'ana mentions she served on an Oberth. It's a class of small science vessels. We first saw is the USS Grissom in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Wow, good knowledge there. We didn't even cover the Riker maneuver. He mentions the Riker maneuver. Remember when Ransom was showing him how to like step over the seat?
Carrie did.
Yeah,
The chair mounting.
Carrie did.
Yeah, that's what it was. So that was great. That was good stuff. The concern about microscopic lives in the soil was showcased in the Next Generation's home soil. It was also addressed in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Okay, good stuff.
And it was kind of a harken back to Jadzia having to test out something that got them stuck on that planet that sent them back with their
ancestors. Yeah,
their ancestors.
Or wait, other direction.
Descendants.
Thank you. I was like, the other way, not that way.
Yeah, descendants.
Good knowledge.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So that self-awareness assessment thing is a real thing that they do.
Yeah, they don't want to destroy any kind of sentient life or anything like that.
Good.
Also, Brigadoon type planet. We talked about that. Let me see. This episode ended up being a lot like a classic TOS one, The Ultimate Computer. In it, Dr. Daystrom's AI computer M5 is given autonomy in war games, leading to disastrous results with starships being destroyed. Wow, he's going deep. Uridunsul is said, which is another reference to the Ultimate Computer. Kirk is called that when it appears the AI has made him obsolete. And ejecting the warp core is an option often mentioned, but only seen a few times. The most famous is probably the finale of, you got it, Matt Boardman. He also says Star Trek Insurrection. Anyway.
Who's a Dunsul?
Stuff. It was Kirk in that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Captain Dunsul. Oh.
All right. Any final thoughts before we close this one out?
There was the Vulcan chick from the
Lynn, finally.
You finally get Lynn after a full season of her, because I think it was the end of season 2. They talked about her being transferred off the Vulcan ship, and then she wasn't mentioned again until this episode right at the end.
Yeah, it was cool to see her pop back up.
Yeah, I thought she was going to come back up in the first episode of this season, but I was way off.
No, she went to the last. I had a nitpick. My only little nitpick was that it took so many California class ships to destroy the Alito. And I was like, literally 4 of those ships would take out our whole fleet then, basically. So
yeah,
I was a little upset about that. I was like, it doesn't take that many. 2 or 3 would have done the job.
This guy knows his classes. Don't mess with Cirroc. Right now, there's somebody in Texas smoking a cigar saying, "Don't mess with Texas, bro." Or
California, that's all we 2 or 3. That's enough.
Drinking
just
some
missing
bourbon.
the longhorns on the ships.
Yeah, oh man, that would be brilliant.
Oh yeah, that would have been great.
Wow,
tacky one.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for playing with us, guys. Thank you, Eve, Carrie, Scott, Homer, Matt, and Melissa. Thank you to Mike McMahon and the team over at Lower Decks for giving us this awesome 3rd season. God, they knock out seasons so fast.
So good.
Yeah.
Season 4 premieres in 2 weeks, everybody. No, it's going to be a while, probably. Oh, speaking of 2 weeks, in less than 2 weeks, the 7th rule has a big announcement for you. That's going to be Wednesday, November 2nd. Goodbye, everybody. That's less than 2 weeks. That's less than 1 week.
That's less than a week, yeah.
Always remember the 7th rule.